Hello and welcome to edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented pandemic, an unprecedented situation. With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making us reboot, reset, rethink, rewind before we rebuild a new future, a new normal. In the world of education, higher education, this has been headed by a post which requires a single trait of wisdom of the past emanating from experience and knowledge, and wisdom to be able to anticipate the future, to be able to understand the needs and be flexible, to embrace and evolve into the new normal. And it's that trait of wisdom which makes us and makes this program try to understand the WISE Chancellor. And today, the WISE Chancellor is Nirmal Chakrabarti, who's representing and heading one of the country's most prestigious institutions of law, the NUJS in Kolkata. What a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Chakrabarti.
And it is my pleasure to be with you and to share my thoughts. I'm glad that with the help of my faculty members, with the help of my authorities, we are meeting the challenges very correct way and right directions. We are the first national law university in the country, completed our online examination in the April itself. We realize that the situation is coming where offline very soon may not be possible. So we are now facing the challenge for the intermediate first year to fourth year.
So typically, you said it's, it's taken you 30 years and now you're looking at change. What has been the most radical change? What has been the most difficult change?
Most difficult and new change is that we from our childhood and also as teacher, we also still now realize that classroom teaching is the best because they are touching the hearts of the students, looking into the faces of the students, teachers' interaction, teachers' impulsion that will work more. But now we are facing a time where students are not in the classroom, but we have to connect. And to connect that, we also started our classes from 1st of July for the new academic session. We are not waiting for the September as UGC and said we can. But we thought it will be a wastage of time. And we also realize it is not exactly the substitute of the classroom teaching, but we are making it more likely by interaction with our faculty members. We devise that as much as possible we can go for even discussion in online and to take the challenge how we can more connect by not only lecturing the whole 1 hour, at least every class some time to be some interaction, and it is not one-way traffic. The students be given time to have their questions. So this way we are trying to connect the students more, and that is the most difficult challenge. And another challenge is the examination also. We have in our device that some papers, compulsory paper 40% as our internal component and 50% in optional papers, elective papers. And we devise that online how we can do that. Not only project writing, but online presentations and also some viva. Target is to connect the students more and more because we are not connecting in the classroom. So that is my and our team trying to do that, connect the students more.
How wonderful. The Kolkata I left in the 1980s, where I was very fortunate to have my education, was one which was highly intellectually stimulating, sir. But when it came to implementation, it was almost static. And there was high resistance at every step. I'm so glad to see a radical change being brought out by educationists like yourself. And I salute you for that, sir. Now, talk to us about NUJS as an institute. It's the cream in terms of law. Tell us why.
Speciality of NUJS is that we give more freedom of choice to the students in matters of learning. Here, for example, in our 4th year, 5th year, we have compulsory papers 3 and another 3 papers that is elective or optional to be selected from a basket of 12 subjects, sometimes more than 12 subjects. We have cluster of subjects in the business law area, in the corporate law areas, in the human rights law area, in the constitutional law areas, in the crime criminology areas, varied choices available, and that makes their individual aspirations, their individual choices a chance to develop. So that is quality on NUJS. Another is that our system of internship, we give 3 months internship as per our routine, and in spite of that, if a student get any entire law firm chance to internship more than the 3 months, 2 months in summer vacation, 1 month winter, we give 3 weeks leave also, that you learn your craftsmanship, skill learning. We give more importance on skill learning, and that's why the recruiters are coming to our institution, and we are happy. Even this year also we are 100% placement. The skill learning in a professional education like law is very, very important.
I'm just so glad that you say that, particularly because one of the missions of edumate.tv is employability. And you've just spoken so much about employability and about placement and about the relevance and the responsiveness of a new age teaching. So it's really praiseworthy, Nirmalda. Well, that having been said, you also got to be a little, when I talk about relevance, you've got to even change courses. You've got to also look at what the market is going to need. And in an environment where we have no choice to become entirely digital connected, of course, the digital divide is going to throw open a lot of challenges, but we have no choice. So new career options, particularly in terms of cyber law and digital law, could be the new normal. What are you doing on that?
Yes, very, very pertinent question. In fact, we make from this new curriculum cyber law as a compulsory paper, which was previously optional. Realizing that the era we are entering, we have entered already, and every student should have some fundamental knowledge about the cyber laws, and that's why we make cyber laws as compulsory papers in the LLB curriculum. And from the very past year, we have started research projects which make them a researcher in the e-resources, e-world.
Wonderful.
And we have 70% of our library resources devoted and allotted to our e-resources. Almost I can tell you, whatever e-resources available in the legal field, all we are subscribing, particularly e-resources on law. Also from this year, realizing the students should be in the home, we are now changing our purchase pattern of the library, that we are going for e-books rather than on hard copy in the sale, and we are circulating these to students.
And we're also looking forward to the same thing happening in the real litigating world, where a lot of work happens online, because it's going to magnify the output of an industry which has really been loaded by a huge backlog. You know, conventionally, I mean, I think Gandhiji did say that justice delayed is justice denied. And a large part of litigation in this country has been also the thwart and block and delay, law. That may very well change. And if that changes, even the education imparted to infuse efficiency has to be far more relevant and far more active. Have you given that a thought while you teach?
Yes, because of this pending, it is not just a recent development. Even when I just entered into the teaching profession, and I am a researcher also. And now I think we have to think how we can use artificial intelligence in our justice system also.
Absolutely.
That will help us to reduce. We know that justice needs human mind, but we have to think other methods, other modes.
Yes, and we have to be very efficient and very proactive in opening up several, cyber courts in this country, because you will see a huge log of litigation coming out there. So perhaps you have to think about this entire system of cyber law very differently in terms of of the legal ecosphere. Now, talk to us through several decisions have been taken by the government of late And of course, the government itself has been fledgling, because the unprecedence of the situation also means that their decisions will be somewhat delayed, somewhat, ambiguous, even sometimes conflicting, particularly in what the center opines, the state opines, and even the Supreme Court opines. In an environment like that, there's a lot of confusion also that's been built up. What is your legal opinion as to whatever you've heard in terms of announcements? Whether it was, for online education enforcement of that, whether there's been an uproar, or whether it was for scrapping of exams, where there's been, again, an opposition there, also of opening up of institutions, also on the fee factor being paid. What is your legal opinion about this?
As regards the examination system, academic calendar, new advisories given by the government, I think keeping in view the social education in India, the large number of educational institutions, traditional colleges, universities, that may be practical. But I think some institutions of excellence like us, there should be some choices to us,
Right.
so that our autonomy we can use, so that there will be some experiments also on other ways, where there is chances to go by the normal academic calendars. Though UGC asks that September can be the beginning of the semester, we started in July. Where we can do that, but I know that in many traditional universities, colleges, that may not be possible. So that flexibility, I think, should be there. Otherwise, that advisory in general for social education, that is government advisory, is, I think, is to some extent pragmatic and practical.
Correct. Now, this is also an era when you mentioned experimenting, you mentioned exploratory. When most students are actually taking up multidisciplinary courses,
Yes.
they're taking up interdisciplinary courses. Now, how much of a challenge is that for specialized institutions which may not be having all that entire variety on their offerings?
I think that's why UGC is advice already, and we are also that our system of this so many optional courses, and also you will be happy to know that our final year law students, they are choosing in the final year even sociological or constitutional law aspects, human rights aspect more, because they also have some their own choices of heart. And interdisciplinary economics and law is one subject that students are liking also. So this choice, more and more university giving choices to the students and facilities that interdisciplinary studies can be learned. Teaching learning should be more and more multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. It is actually university policy and curriculum freedom that should be used.
I'm just observing the conversation with you, and how steadfast you are in your thinking, which is quite credible, and it's quite incredible as well. Because like all of us, the older we get, we tend to get more rigid in our views. But I'm so impressed by your flexibility, Nirmalda. So talk to us about Nirmalda. Talk to us about Mr. Nirmal Chakrabarti's career. How has it been so far? And what are the changes you have made as an individual, now as a Vice Chancellor, into your own habit?
As head of any educational institutions or any department, which I started in Hooghly Mohsin College, Government of West Bengal, at Hooghly Chuchura, that when I joined, from next day I had to take the charge of headship or teacher in charge of the law school. I realize the students nowadays expect a lot of things from the institutions, from the teachers. I tried my best, and I realized if you understand the student's mind, then you can easily handle the students. Students are intelligent and obedient also, even today. Students want many things which you can do within the academic decisions also. So accordingly, I experienced my almost more than 10 years in government college, and then I joined University of Calcutta. And when I joined in Calcutta University in 96, I took the charge of headship in Calcutta University 2002 to 4. That experience also And then I went to Bhubaneswar Kit Law School. That was only 2 years old when I joined in 2009. From 2009 to 2019, nurture only second year, and I made it within the 12th rank in NIRF. And the general students, they want that there should be atmosphere where teaching learning would be enjoyable and should make them to dream. That the leader of any education institution to understand what they are dreaming and let them to dream also. That also I have to encourage them. I brought Professor Menon also in my law school, and on his advice I make the learning also skill-based learning, skill-based curriculum that make the students engage more with professional skills. They enjoyed not only the teaching but also learning skills. In NUJS is a place where the students very much intelligent. They are also very much challenging.
I sense a very high degree of introspection in you. And I also sense that you're a constant learner and a student yourself.
Yeah.
Just the way you want to learn from students and their needs and their current challenges. Just really quite incredible.
Actually, my inspiration of learning and developing.
Quite incredible, sir. You mentioned that, the students challenge, all the time these days. So tell me something. Is the examination more difficult for the student or the teacher?
Now, online examination, that is a challenge in the present time. But I discussed and I also advised my teachers that online examination should be made in such a manner that it will be, because in our examination system we make it open book system.
Right.
And in open book system you have to test their critical ability. It is not their knowledge, how they can analyze, problem solving, how they can apply law in practical problem areas, and also not only just to memorize the things. So focus is in examination not the knowledge test, but analytical ability, their understanding. We have internal components. There we test their writing skills.
You mentioned the word understand, and that perhaps is one of the most difficult words in such a dynamic, uncertain and unprecedented atmosphere of COVID, where everybody is right now dealing with a high sense of apprehension and ambiguity. Now, the various stakeholders in the education field, the students, the parents, the teacher, and vice chancellors like yourself are all at some level being tested. What would be your advice to each of these stakeholders in the education ecosphere?
In the present era, the teachers, my colleagues, students, everyone having their distinct and separate demand from the head of the institution. Teachers want that they should be given autonomy and freedom in their work, and students also nowadays want some extra curriculum or outside class, some activities, for which in our NUJS there are a lot of students-led societies. Students-driven activities like arbitration, mediation, some debates, or interrelated personalities being invited to interact with the students. And the parents, we normally having no parents meeting in the university level, but whenever parents send any email to me or they visit us, we very much give the time and welcome them. And my fellow Vice Chancellor, particularly we have a consortium of National Law School universities where we started sharing of our experience, knowledge, and we are now particularly in the online classes we are planning, and we are discussing how we can exchange our experiences and also expertise. So that way we are thinking that we institutional collaboration, institutional exchange of resources. You are taking the actual life of the institutions that how the leaders thinking the life of the education and institution, and that realization and that help your design, I think, gives or contribute to our education in the country.
Quite insightful, extremely innovative, and most certainly inspiring. Thank you for being a wonderful and a very wise chancellor.
Thank you for giving me opportunity